Hi everyone, it's Aga from EurekaCrystalBeads.com and I have another fun beading video for you. Before I get started, just a quick reminder to check out the rest of our channel, and if you like what you see, if you've learned anything, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you can always know when we're posting new content. Welcome to the spooky season, and today we're going to be making this cute little pendant that will take really little of your time, but is sort of charming, I think. What inspired me to make this is this lovely pumpkin patch Bicone mix, which comes from the 2022 version of the Pumpkin Festival Beads collection, which is now available at EurekaCrystalBeads.com, so you can get it. And what we're going to be doing today is the brick stitch plus some variation of a fringe or a peacoat around the edge. Let's just quickly go over the materials you're going to need, which is going to be really brief because you're only going to need the pumpkin patch mix that I spoke about earlier. You're going to need EurekaCrystalBeads or Toho treasure beads in the color black. You're going to need Toho size 15 beads. Here I have this beautiful metallic saffron shade. You're going to need a base. Obviously, this is a connector in this nice oval shape. And you're going to need 2 jump rings, and they come out of the bag in this pretty much closed form. There is a cut in here, but they are really tightly closed, which is going to be useful because they're not going to let any thread slip away. And the other one is going to serve us to put the chain through it. Finally, you're going to need a needle. Here I have size 12 needle, but size 11 or 10 will also do fine, I think. And you're going to need thread. Here I have KO thread. I recommend using the waxed ones, the more sturdy ones, little to no stretch. And you can also use Wildfire or Fireline thread, which will also be fine. And I think Fireline also comes in black, which I really like for this project because it adds some spookiness to it. Okay, the first thing you need to do is to unwind the thread, and you're going to need about half a wingspan, which is if you put the thread around the center of your body and extend your hand, that's how much half a wingspan is, and that's how much you will need. Now, to start, you take your base, your connector, and we're going to go from the bottom, do the first row of brick stitch, then we're gonna go back with the bicones, do the bail, connect the central element, continue with the bicones, and then we can finish. But to start, I'm going to make this side the bottom because I just prefer going this way and adding my beads on top instead of at the bottom. So the first thing I do, there are 2 types of beaders, those that just add beads straight away and those that tie a little knot. So I like to tie a knot so that I know my thread is firmly secured. So I just go around the base, make a loop, go through that loop, make another loop, and pull. This is movable, as you can see, for now. It's not a very tight knot, but it's just something to hold my first beads in place. So what I do, I start with 2 beads, and I'm going to be adding 1 bead later. But first, 2 beads. I hold it from the back so that they don't just get through this connector. And I go through the last bead that I added so that my needle comes out of this bead in between the 2 beads. like this. So as you can see, this one is standing up pretty nice. And this one will do the same when we finish this row and close the loop. Now you're going to be adding one bead going underneath the connector, making sure that it doesn't just come under it together with the thread. And you're going to go through that bead upwards so that your thread kind of holds on to the base. Let me just show you one more time. Like this. And you go through it upwards. Like that. Remember to pull your thread from time to time so that they're all nice together, especially if you're using Fireline because it's quite stiff and they may just, come apart. Alright, let me come back to you when I finish this row to show you how to close it, and then we can proceed with bicones and Toho 15s. Okay, I am done. I ended up with 39 beads around the base, around this connector, and now I am connecting the last bead that I added to this first bead. And what I do is I treat this bead as if I just added it, which is, this is by the way the thread that connects to the spool. Go through this bead behind the connector, pull through, and then go through it again upwards on the other side of the golden connector. And that's it. And this is going to be our bottom. I am not cutting this other end of the thread yet, because if anything goes wrong or if I'm missing thread, I can always start from this side and go there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the fringe or the picot. So basically all I'm going to do now is add a bicone bead, block it with a size 15 bead, then go back through this very same bead and the very same Eureka bead on the bottom. And I'm gonna proceed to the next bead after that, just underneath, not involving the base or the connector in any way. And after that, pulling hard. After that, I'm going to take 3 size 15 beads and make a picot going through the next bead. What I like to do is to snug them up a little bit. And I go to the next bead. And again, take a bicone bead. And in my case, I'm doing it randomly because I really love the entire mix. But you can make a sequence or you can just pick one color and do it with your favorite one. So what this is going to do, it's going to create a kind of a wavy pattern because this is going to overlap a little bit, and it's going to create not an entirely flat pattern, but sort of a wavy one. Like they are going to squeeze that picot like that, and I really like this effect. And again, I'm going to add 3 size 15 beads and then 1 bicone and another 3 size 15 beads, and I'm going to do it until I've reached the middle. And how I do it is I just simply measure, because this is exactly 1 inch. So I measure where the ½ inch is, and it should be between 2 beads. That's the best case scenario, and if it's slightly to the side, that's alright. In my case, it's between these 2 beads, so when I reach this bead, This is where I'm going to do the bail, and I'm going to come back to you when I've reached this point. Alright, as you can see, I'm halfway through, and I was lucky enough to get my middle beads right after I finished the picot right here. So my two middle beads are in here, that's the center. But if you weren't as lucky and your two central beads would be, let's say, these two, and the picot will be kind of in the way, what you do is when you reach this bead, right after you add the bicone, you just add one size 15 bead and go right through the same bead right here, so that you can go down this bead and up through the bead that is one of the two central beads. And in this way, it will be quite aesthetically okay, and you can start your bail and add your ring in this way. So this is one of my central beads that I'm out of right now. I'm going to add 4 black beads and the ring and make a loop into this one, but I want to go out the back of the connector of the oval base, like this. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the central element. So for that, I need 1 Eureka bead and 1 size 15 orange bead, and I pick up the ring and treat it as if it was a small base. So I hold it underneath my beads like that, and as you can see, my thread is behind it, so now I go through these same 2 beads in the front of the ring, so that the thread will kind of go around the ring and hold it in place. Now, as I go through these 2, I also want to go through this bead here, but from the front. So we're going through the back, now I'm going from the front, and at the same time I'm going to go through this loop also. So I pull everything together, sort of tight, don't worry, that will get flat later. And I go through the rest of this loop on which the ring is hanging, all 4 beads, and now I go through this bead from the brick stitch row, and again I want to go behind the golden connector, and I pull tight like this. And again, I want to stabilize the central element from the top, so again I add 1 Miyuki Eureka bead and 1 size 15 bead, go behind that ring, through the middle of it obviously, just making sure that my beads stay behind, which can be a little tricky. We want them like this more or less. And now I go from the front through these 2 beads, and in the front through this brick stitch bead and the loop holding the other jump ring. And now I go up the next bead in the brick stitch row. And now I can continue with the picot and the bicone fringe. But what I need to do now, in order for this entire pattern to close up nicely in the bottom so that there isn't any spare beads, because it's easier to kind of hide the odd count of beads in the brick stitch row up here rather than down here. So what I do is I count my EurekaBeads that I have from this point. So I count by 3. So I have my bicone in this one. 1, 2, I will have 1 here, 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here, 1, 2 here, 1, 2 in here, 1, 2 in here. So if I'm going to have my bicone going out from this bead here, which is a second bead from the loop, I cannot have a picot in here actually, because it won't add up. So what I do is I pick up just a single size 15 bead and I go through the very same EurekaBead that I am coming out of right now. And I can proceed to the next one, and in here is where I'm going to add my bicone. So I'll just keep adding that and just repeat what I've been doing in here and come back to you when I'm done and it's time to finish. Okay, we're nearly done. Just 2 things to do is to get rid of this thread and to connect this central ring to the other side of the pendant. So cut this thread that leads to the spool. Take just as much as you're going to need to hide in between the beads. So what I like to do, this is coming from this bead, so I go up the next bead, and what I like to do, I came out behind. What I like to do is to tie a little knot on this thread that connects these 2 brick stitched beads. So I just go underneath it with my needle, make this kind of loop, go through that loop, pull through it, make another loop and go through that loop, pull, and go through the next bead, pulling the knot inside. This is where I cut it. Let's go back to the front. I'm switching my needle to the main thread. And now, if the number of beads that you squeezed into your brick stitch is the same as mine, which was, how many was that? 39. You're going to need to find a central bead, because on the bottom part there's going to be one central bead. And one way you can do it is, again, measure, find the ½ inch, or if you want to be super precise, you can count the beads on each side to find the central one. Incidentally, I just finished and I'm coming out of the central one. I turn it the right way because now it's more convenient. I pick up 1 bicone bead and I took this one because I really like this color and I think there should be more in this pendant. I go behind and through the ring, and again through the bicone, And now I'm going to go through this bead but from the other side. So from back, like this. What I like to do is to secure it again. So I just go through the next bead, and what I do is I go through and behind the connector, go up, and then back through this bead that connects the bicone to the ring. And as you can see right now, my needle is going not in front, but in the back. It's right there. In the back, and through this bicone, and through the ring. Pull it so that it pulls the ring down. And go through the bicone again. Let's say from the front this time, because we're going through from behind the oval spacer, and now we're going in front. Pull tight. And basically that's it. What I do now is again make a knot on this thread here between these two beads. So I just make a little loop. I go through that loop just like before, and another loop. And on the back side of the work, I pull the knot into the bead, and that's it. I can cut off the thread and enjoy my new pendant. Let us know in the comments how you like this tutorial. All the supplies that I have shown you, including this gorgeous pumpkin patch bicone mix, can be found at EurekaCrystalBeads.com. Thanks so much for joining us today, and I'll see you next time. Bye!